Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Thursday, the 19th of December, 2024. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 fell by 1.7% today to close at 8,168 points, the lowest since early November. It came after the US Federal Reserve cut interest rates in the world's biggest economy, but signalled it was likely to cut 2 more times, not 4 more times as the market expected. That sent the S&P 500 down 3% overnight, and the local market followed. There was selling across the board. All the big banks were lower. In fact, they're all off more than 2%. So too Goodman Group, the big miners, were sold off. Coles, QBE and Transurban were among the few to end the day in the black. Story number 2, ANZ held its annual general meeting today, and investors are not happy with around 38% of shareholders voting against the bank's remuneration report. Outgoing Chief Executive Officer Shane Elliott has voluntarily given up $3.2 million in bonuses on the back of the scandal surrounding the bank's trading floors, which are now part of a regulatory investigation into market manipulation. The allegations are that traders manipulated a $14 billion federal government bond issuance to benefit themselves and the bank, pushing up borrowing costs. Last week, Mr. Elliott said he would step down next year, and Portuguese banker Nuno Matos will take the top job. The strike against ANZ's REM report today was the first since 2018. Another one next year means the board will spill and directors will have to be re-voted in. Story number 3, Australian officials have helped nearly 150 citizens get home from Vanuatu as the Pacific island deals with the aftermath of 2 serious earthquakes. Australian citizens were assisted to get home on Royal Australian Air Force flights, which were returning from the humanitarian mission underway. A 64-person disaster assistance response team from Australia is on the ground in Vanuatu with 2 specialist dogs. The team includes Queensland's fire and rescue personnel and canine teams, as well as doctors, paramedics, engineers and communications technicians. The 7.3 magnitude earthquake struck on Tuesday, killing 14 and injuring hundreds. Story number 4, the Albanese government will reopen Australia's embassy in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Foreign Minister Penny Wong travelled to Ukraine and visited the site of the embassy, which was evacuated by the former coalition government in early 2022, shortly after Russia's February 24 invasion. She said that from next month, Australia's ambassador and deputy head of mission will return to the country. Embassy staff and activity were relocated to Poland, but the move was only supposed to be temporary. Australia's arrangements became increasingly isolated and unusual as most other countries returned their diplomatic staff to Kyiv over the course of 2022. And finally, story number 5, every female employee of BHP and Rio Tinto of the past 20 years will be invited to join class actions alleging sexual harassment after Brisbane law firm JGA Sadler started legal proceedings last week. JGA Sadler lawyer Josh Aylward said he'd advised 2 unnamed women in the filing of 2 separate claims, one against BHP, one against Rio, according to a story in the Fin Review. The legal action would be run on an opt-out basis. That means all women who worked for BHP or Rio since November 2023 will be eligible to register for the claim unless they actively choose to opt out. Mr. Aylward said BHP and Rio would be ordered by the court, potentially as early as February, to contact all former female employees and make them aware of their eligibility. The class action comes 2.5 years after the West Australian Parliament handed down a bombshell inquiry into sexual harassment at mine sites. The process forced big miners such as BHP, Rio and Fortescue to reveal dozens of sexual harassment claims made by staff. That's it for the afternoon report for Thursday, the 19th of December, 2024. Make sure you hit follow on the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the Friday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.